In my previous video, I featured some alternative leather straps for the Casio World Time. Those were sent in by Reissue for review, totally for free, and to somehow show my appreciation for the support that the brand extended to the channel, I wanted to showcase the straps beyond their intended design. So I finally got a cue, which went perfectly with the straps by the way, and luckily, I found one brand new at around 40% off the original retail price. I know I'm late to this, but today I share my thoughts on this popular reissue from Timex. Is it a practical watch? No. Is it a charming vintage-inspired timepiece? Absolutely. So is it worth getting? Well, I came up with this table to sum up my thoughts and opinions. Let me explain. Let me begin by getting the facts out of the way. It's a Timex, so at least we're getting some brand history and yes, reliability for the most part. And it is a very faithful reissue from 1979, which I'm personally crazy about, just like some collectors I'm guessing. Before heading on to the specs, let me quickly ask for your support to the channel. Please like, share, comment, perhaps consider subscribing. Mostly polished stainless steel case, except for the sloped facets that house the lugs, which are horizontally brushed. Finishing's okay. Okay for me at least, and I guess across all these price points, but beyond, like how these watches sold for during those early reseller days, well, there's definitely a lot better to be found. Oh yes, that lovely domed dial distorting, easily scratching crystal. I'll take that over a flat and boring sapphire even at SRP. Even luxury brands can care about the vintage warmth that acrylic adds to a dial. The practicality of sapphire is unquestionable, but let me remind you that this is not a practical tool watch to begin with. Knowing now that the water resistance ratings on watches are rather conservative, I can say that 50 meters is actually good enough for my intended use. I never go diving, nor is this watch marketed as a real diver, so this wasn't that much of a factor for me at 107. The added peace of mind, however, would be nice to have at 139 and 189, but something I'll excuse, again by the vintage bell that this watch has managed to cast on me. This runs on a Seiko PC33 quartz, precise, reliable, but these movements cost just somewhere around $10. Forgivable to be on a watch for the price I paid, a hard sell for the current discounted price, but at full retail of $189, well, that explains why it took me to this day to finally get this watch in my collection. I personally think this cutout day-date window with the printed border, for one, ruins the symmetry of the dial, and two, it just cheapens the look of the watch. On top of that, it features quick setting but only for the date, so to get to the right day of the week, it would mean manually getting those hands to cross midnight a couple of times. With my watch properly set, I wouldn't even want to demonstrate the point because it really is a hassle to do. Not a deal breaker though, for quartz movements that need to be set only once. Visibility in the dark is simply a joke. I really wish Timex had just put that additional cost of lume application onto something else like thicker paint I guess, to get those markers raised by even a bit for more depth to the dial, or even Indiglow. I know Indiglow won't go with the vintage theme, but it's not something you see anyway until you need it. Again forgiven by its charm at a heavy discount, but not at full retail, nor with the offer on the Timex website. I rarely fiddle with diver bezels. I tried rotating this one out of the box only to get a feel of what the action on a friction-fit bezel feels like, being the first that I've handled. This I'm doing right now in front of the camera would only be its second intentional 360, and I'm not exaggerating. What I'm trying to get at is that this feature is purely cosmetic. I've seen it knocked out of position quite a number of times already, despite being technically good as new. This is not a reliable timing bezel, and is something that I still hate in spite of the discount I got it for. And for 139 and 189, I'd go for something clicky instead of this, even if it came with significant backplay. Stainless steel bracelet, folded links, folded ends, sliding keeper snap-on lock. A cheap Casio bracelet for short. Can't complain about that on a $20 watch, but for $100, at least give us a better clasp. For around $150, I'd be happy with Seiko quality, but if Timex offered the bracelet that integrated better with the case design, I think I might be willing to pay slightly above retail. I believe the Q is not a practical watch at any of the price points I presented, but be careful trying one on because it'll definitely win you over with its charm. The use of blue and red used here are, shall I say, classy, with a somewhat convincing ghosted look to keep with the whole vintage thing. The faint yellow markers on the dial are perfect. Some see it as fake patina and hate it, while I personally appreciate it just as a complimentary addition of color. Wrapping up my recommendations, I'd say the deal sa pass at 189, try to resist it at 139, maybe give in at 107, but don't even think about it at 89. Hope you liked the video. See you in the next one.